came across. Let me bring in our China media analyst, Kerry Allen. Good to have you back with us, Kerry.
Yeah, good to see you.
We heard from you yesterday, of course, when you were speaking to Ula, who is still in isolation. It was fascinating to hear some of the voices within Hubei province. But let's take a look at some of the latest developments. Still, more than 98% of the global total of these cases are in China. Chinese prisons. Mm-hmm. This is a line that people are saying there is an appearance of the virus there.
Yeah, well, the surprising thing about this is in the last couple of days, there was a lot of positivity about cases dropping in China. So outside of Hubei province, where there's still a major problem, there's still more than 10,000 cases, there were figures dropping over 2 weeks down to the 40s. So literally only 40-something new cases outside of Hubei province. So yeah, there was attention on Japan and the ship and increasingly South Korea, but there have suddenly been cases in 5 prisons in 3 different provinces, and there's a number of reasons for this. Some of these are in Hubei province themselves, so there have been cases there, but there's been a big surprise in Shandong, which is very far away in the east of China, of 207 confirmed cases, and this is due to a prison official who had not declared the fact that he'd come back from Hubei and went back to work. So there have been people punished as a result of this. Other cases have also been in eastern Zhejiang province, which is close to Shanghai, again along the coast in eastern China. Again, it's because people recognise the stigma attached to this, and they're not seeking health treatment. They don't want to quarantine themselves, they just want to stay inside. They're hoping that the symptoms they have, I mean, bear in mind it's February, so it's still cold in a lot of places in China. People think this could just be normal flu, that they're risking other people's health by going back to work.
And that is a hard thing to control, right? Human behaviour or whatever it is that may happen. So the prison officer, I suppose, would be persona non grata in many circles. But what about at the other end of the spectrum, these people that are really being held up as heroes, the medical workers?
Yeah, well, this has been the case, that there's been a lot of praise for the people that have kept on fighting throughout this, and particularly in Hubei province, because when this originally started there weren't enough medical professionals to deal with this. The cases were multiplying, so a lot of doctors were being flown in from different provinces. And I mean, one of the big stories today is this doctor called Peng Yinhua, who was only 29 years old, and he's originally based in Hubei. He was working at a hospital in Wuhan, and he originally was planning, like most people in China, to take some holiday leave, and then he was going to get married on the 1st of February. Now, it's common in China that people, before they get married, they have what's known as the hunsha jiao, which is you have these professional wedding photos taken before you get married. Mm-hmm. So these beautiful pictures of him and his bride-to-be, and she was pregnant, have been circulating, and they were hoping that they were going to get married, but in late January he caught the virus as a result of spending time around people, trying to treat it, and he died today, only 29 years old.
That is so sad. And did he have underlying health conditions? I mean, he's a young man.
None whatsoever, no. So there's a lot of sadness about this. In fact, that media have been saying that he still had the wedding invitations because they postponed the wedding
because of the
in
virus.
His desk. Yeah, but I mean, it's the case now that China is saying that. I mean, February is a big time there's Valentine's Day. People after Chinese New Year, it's a new start. It's a common time where a lot of people get married, and because that would mean hundreds of people gathering in one place, the government has been saying to a lot of people, try and postpone your marriages and your ceremonies if you're going to have them, which is really sad. A lot of people are having to cancel their weddings because they don't want to spread, if there are underlying conditions that they might have the coronavirus, or one of their guests might have it, everybody could get it. So very sad time.
Gosh. With this, another aspect of it, however, is that the authorities want to recognise people that are on those front lines.
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday what happened was the Ministry of Health in Hubei province said that it was going to reward medical workers from Hubei with 5 years free entry to Class A tourist sites within Hubei. Now, people were a bit like, okay, so for 5 years people get free entry to, say,
I mean,
museums.
My eyebrows are raised, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, bear in mind, I thought Class A sites, I think of places like the Great Wall outside of Hubei province, so, major tourist sites, but they were going to get 5 years free entry to museums and mountainous regions, and people were saying, how come only people in Hubei? This is and how come only regions there? And what's happened in the last 24 hours is suddenly lots of different provinces have acted, and they've said, well, we're going to offer incentives. Companies like Ctrip, a big tourism site, has said that basically if you find out you're a medical worker, you've been involved in treating the coronavirus, they're going to offer incentives to people. So there's a lot of companies now and local governments very much off the back of this saying, we are going to reward people who've been helping with this virus. And there are questions about whether it's just going to be medical professionals, because obviously there have been charities donating food, for example, and people producing in factories producing masks because they've been in such short supply.
Carrie-Anne, thank you so much coming over, bringing us up to date on a number of strands inside China. But I think also when I read Kerry's Twitter feed, you kind of get across a lot of the sadness that is there, as well as it's a country really that's in limbo and, postponing everything until the peak of this outbreak has passed.